y'all go out on dates, that y'all connect with. Because this whole pandemic has made me look at the world differently. How we, especially as sisters, because I'm calling so many of my sisters that's by themselves, that's isolated alone. I have to spend my beginning day just checking on them, making sure they okay, because I know they by themselves. So that's all I'm saying. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but y'all can have at it.
But what I'm saying is you have to be very clear on what it is that you want in a relationship. When I was your age, when I thought about the things that I wanted, I said, oh, I want to have a nice house, and I want to have a nice car, and I want to, and I'm doing all of that dumb stuff. And I ended up with my ex-husband. I had access to $60 million, but I didn't have somebody who valued me, somebody who honored me, somebody who understood my worth, somebody who would protect me and care for me. So when you're making that wish list of things that you want, don't just think about, be specific. Oh, I want them to be equally yoked with me financially, bring something to the table. People always think about financial. When all the money's dead and gone, all you're left with is who you are, what you stand for, and your emotional status. And somebody has to feed into that. So he may not come in the packaging you want, but he might be the person that is the best person for you.
B, we only give you this conversation because we love you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason.
I respect it. I'm listening. I'm soaking it all in.
Hey, this is the Antisocial Socialite back at it again. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you are new to the channel or you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for, darling? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, so when I get to running this mouth, baby, you are in the loop. I don't even know what to title this video. It's kind of like bad expectations handed down to younger women by older women. Now, I don't know these four ladies on this panel. We know this is the Oprah Network. So it's something that I'm not particularly a fan of right out of the gate. I'm not going to talk about these women from a personal perspective because I don't know them. But I am going to go basically at face value what these women are saying. Okay, so you have three older women giving advice to a younger woman. And first thing I want to say right off the bat is I actually really respect what the first lady said, because the lady in the top left corner, I respect the fact she's encouraging a younger woman to at least find a partner. I respect the fact that she's saying keep your options open, and I know this might be controversial, but I'm not against dating multiple partners. By dating, I mean talking to. If you have not decided that you guys are exclusively seeing each other and you know everything is open and honest, then I haven't really got an issue with that, because it could just happen that you meet more than one person at the same time. This is why I did a video about we need to overhaul the dating standards in the black community. It's taboo to date more than one person, but at the same time people are sneaking around with more than one person. And they're dating one person and rushing that relationship, when if there was a culture that accepted that you can talk to more than one person until you understand who you'd really like to be with, that would relieve, in my opinion, some of the pressure. But that's not the topic of this video. What really hurt me about this video was the response of the lady in the bottom right hand corner. Now, it was actually the day before yesterday because I had issues with the recording. So although I did the video yesterday, I have to record the audio part, the commentary part again. So although I actually did the video yesterday, which was the 11th of June, I'm having to re-record it again today on the 12th, okay? And on the 10th, I did a video about the coming race war. Now, I personally feel that this whole situation with Black Lives Matter is contrived. People who have watched this channel, they know I do not believe in this whole pandemic business. They know that I believe that this is all about forcing people towards communist, a communist technocratic society. So that's here nor there. But the lady in the top left-hand corner, she made a comment that she was having to go around and call a lot of single women that she knew because as a result of lockdowns, a lot of these black women were on their own. And I made a very harsh statement, which I know is going to upset some people. And I said, well, who asked these women to be on their own? You see, I respect the fact that she wanted to go out there and help black women. She had empathy, she had sympathy. This is part of the female nature. And she wanted to go out there and ensure people that she cared about were okay. I don't have a problem with that. But this is a systemic problem in the black community where you have an abundance of single older women, no husband, maybe no kids. And instead of us changing the culture, we're trying to almost put a band-aid on something that needs to be cut out. You see, people in the Eastern cultures, they fully understand that if you want to be able to, number one, maximize your options, have the best opportunity to get the best partner you can, you're in an advantageous place if you just search early. That's one of the reasons why I like the fact that this lady was telling this young girl, now is the time while you are young, you need to multi-date and you need to be looking for a partner. Although she didn't mention marriage, which was the bit that kind of messed me up. Now, we know that this is a very short clip, so we don't know what came before. We don't know where the conversation went after. So as I said, we have to take it at face value, okay? But Eastern cultures, they're very big on pushing younger women to marry. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that if the person is not ready. I'm not a fan of just getting married for the sake of getting married, or just, say yes to the first person who proposes to you. Obviously, we need to be thinking about compatibility and mutual attraction. That is important. But I respect the fact that they at least sow in young girls' minds, your goal is to strive to find the best partner you can, marry and settle down. Because, put aside SMV and, whatever men might want in a woman, whether they prefer them to be older or younger, the longer you leave it to settle down, the more eligible men just pair off or walk away from the dating market altogether. So the younger you are looking for a stable situation, the more likely you are to just have a better outcome because you have higher value and an increased number of options. Not only do you have more options available to you, you know that if you start, settle down early, you can still get your education, you can still work on your career, you can still save money, travel the world with your man. And when you have kids and they're grown a bit, you can still go back to working. And once they are fully grown, you can go back to your career with many years ahead of you. So it just makes more sense to strive to settle down early. So I really respect what the First Lady said. For the most part, I didn't have a lot of problems with it. It's when the lady with the blonde hair came in that I became really frustrated. And that's the whole point of this video, because there's always an element of truth coupled with lies. And that's the thing that I don't like with the way older women often give advice to younger women. The first thing I noticed with this lady was she started talking about how, when she was young, she had this fantasy of having a big house and a big car. And I'm going to leave the video in the description box so you can actually watch it for yourself and you can see the expressions and the mannerism. She starts flaying her hands from side to side, almost like a little girl dancing. And if you were a young person having this lady explain to you her mindset when she was approaching marriage, you would think that there's a problem with being girly and bubbly and light. And in the black community, there's a huge problem with masculinization of black women. We have issues with mental health, we have issues with connection and intimacy, and all of that is to do with the fact that a lot of older women subconsciously or consciously shame us for having emotions. They shame us for being soft, they shame us for being feminine, they shame us for being girly. And so whether this lady realized how she looked or not, her waving herself around almost in a mocking gesture, like, I was just an airhead, I was just thinking I'm gonna have a big house and a big car. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, because as a woman, that is exactly what you should want. That brings me to my next point. It's a bit further down in the video, but what I would have liked for her to say is just balance it out. You as a woman, you have to have security. You are looking for mental security, emotional security, physical security, and obviously financial security. All right. that is your role as a woman when it comes to looking for a mate. So you need a guy who is emotionally stable himself, okay? The next thing you need is a man who has knowledge and wisdom, so that when you don't know what to do, you can depend on him. You can respect him because you know he has competency, he has the capacity to find a solution. You know, a lot of women, they talk about, I want a guy who's taller than me, I like a guy who's muscular. Again, this is a biological imperative. It's a physical representation of his strength. Because we know as a woman, when you, especially you're pregnant or you have small kids, you know, even as you're getting older, you're not as strong as a man. So you want to know you have that physical protection. And we live in a society where you have to have cash. You know, if you're not living off the land, you have to have an income. Again, when you are at your most vulnerable, which is during pregnancy, you need to know that the bills are taken care of and you have a man who's financially stable. So the name of the game, the order of the day, is security. And this is something that the lady with the blonde hair never actually mentioned. So this is where a significant part of the conversation when it comes to older women trying to school younger women about love and relationships, they drop the ball. And it's this kind of unbalanced argument that actually is detrimental to a lot of young women. Okay? Then one of the other things that she started talking about was, I ended up with a man who was making 60 million, but I felt. And it was like, whoa. Women these days, because of feminism, they do not understand what it takes to be with a man who actually is successful, what it takes to be with a man who's making those high 6 figures or even 7 figures plus, okay? We don't understand men in general, but there's an even bigger lack of understanding when it comes to men of high value. They have a lot of commitments and they have a lot of stress. So your partner, regardless of your pay grade or your tax bracket, your male counterpart, your partner, your man, he is not your girlfriend in a man's body. He doesn't have the time or the energy to be, you know, hearing about the gossip, talking about a lot of, you know, irrelevant rubbish. His mind is consumed with business deals, with meetings, with managing people. He doesn't have a lot of free time or energy just to be dedicated to a spouse. And I understand that that's really hard for women because we do constantly want to know that we're getting attention and validation. Okay? This is why it's so important as women. And this is where feminism has really failed women. They have become so, you know, work orientated. They have been so caught up in their education, and their whole identity has become defined by their job title, that number one, they don't understand that no man really is interested in their money. If the man has got money, he doesn't need your money. It doesn't move him because he's not looking for a provider. And at the end of the day, you cannot substitute your femininity with your education or your job. So feminism has actually isolated women long before the coronavirus situation occurred, because so where feminism has got women messed up is women just don't understand how much of society is actually controlled and regulated, sustained by men. Okay, when everything is working perfectly, women are fierce, they're strong, they're independent. But now that society has ground to a halt, all of a sudden women are realizing how much they are dependent upon the efforts and the maintenance, the logistics of men. They've actually become quite destitute in a lot of situations because through their independent mindset, they've alienated themselves from so many people. I mean, I understand that we live in a modern society. Most of us live in towns and cities where you're unlikely to have close relatives near to you. You're not really going to have extended family in a lot of instances, unless you live in a small town in your local vicinity. So the nature of how we live in the modern time already causes us to be quite isolated. If you do not have a husband or spouse, in-laws, children, it even becomes more desperate. And this coronavirus situation, despite whether it's real or not, it has highlighted many things, again, which the First Lady mentioned. Okay, the next thing that I didn't really like about this situation was the way she spoke about the high value man. At the end of the day, as a woman, you need to be looking for a man who has a combination of character and drive. And the way that she presented the high value man, it almost gave off the implication that if you have a successful man, he's not going to have a good character. And that just isn't the case. We have a huge problem right now. We're talking about generational wealth and building, but that is not going to be a reality if women are having children with unproductive men. So again, when she starts to say, the man you need maybe won't come in the packaging you want, this is why I don't really deal with people who maybe are on celebrity status. They live in a world that is different from the average person. Now, you may be a high earning woman, or maybe you're a woman who earns more than your man. So regardless of how much you make as a woman, if you're going at least by the biblical definition of submission, your income has nothing to do with your femininity or your willingness to submit to your husband. So in that situation, even if she's a celebrity, if she's saying, I'm going to date a man who maybe makes less money than me because at the end of the day, I'm obeying that rule of submission, I have no problem with that, because of course, you as a woman making more money than your man still should submit to the husband as the leader of your household. But again, that's not necessarily the way it came across to me. Maybe I've got it wrong. I almost felt like she was saying, it's better sometimes that you get with a less financially successful man if he's going to treat you right, but you can't have both. You can't have a good quality man who is going to love you and treat you the way you want to be treated. And this is why I said some women, they look at men like a girlfriend or an accessory, part of their team, an entourage. And it just doesn't work like that when you're really dealing with alpha male men who are productive and high value. High earning men, they're busy, they're stressed out, and this is why it's so important for women to understand the importance of forging those familial relationships. Going back to the point about women not being allowed to express their emotions and be girly, this is why we have a huge problem with this is why we have a huge problem with maybe mental health problems, regulating our emotions, being open and vulnerable, being feminine, because for years we've been shut down when we've had the urge to actually operate in that feminine manner by other women. So if you become emotionally unavailable and disconnected, how are you going to forge healthy relationships with a partner? So again, I understand the whole I need to be fed, I need to have my my soul vested into. But I noticed in all of that small piece of footage, there was nothing about what the woman should bring to the table for the man. So that's the next point. It's great to have standards, it's great to have expectations, because there's a push and a pull between the masculine and the feminine energy. The man understands that as a woman is going to attract a lot of male attention, the woman has the right to refuse. So he obviously wants to be quote unquote picked. But where the power starts to shift is, if he is picked, he also has to maintain the position of leadership. He cannot make the woman the central focus of his life, because once he does that, she may become overwhelmed emotionally, she may begin to resent him, she may lose attraction to him, and once the attraction is gone, so is the respect. Once the respect is gone, so is the attraction. So once you kind of get selected by the woman as the man, you have to maintain your dominance and that alpha position in the relationship. Okay, and maybe that's what he was doing when this lady was like, I didn't feel this and I didn't feel that. She didn't say he was hitting me. She didn't say he was mentally or emotionally abusive. It sounded more like she was upset that he was not always available for her when she wanted him to be there. And because he was prioritizing his money-making ventures and making her second fiddle, she felt like she was being neglected, although she was enjoying the benefits of a man who was making $60 million a year. So again, the fact that you are going to walk away from a high value man or a highly productive man because of emotion, it just talks to the lack of understanding of priorities. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying be with a rich man who treats you badly just for the money. I don't support that. And I'm also not going to say be with a man who is not financially stable just because he makes you feel good. Because when you are in your prime, able to work and sustain that household on just your income, everything is fine. You love him, he loves you, the sex is good, you guys are in your bubble and it's fine. But as life gets more serious and it gets harder, you are then going to resent that man because you have to carry the bulk of the responsibility in that relationship. You see, again, this is why a lot of black men become frustrated with black women. This whole be Simone situation has occurred since I actually saw the first clip, saw this clip for the first time, and since I was going to make my original video. And it's kind of like, I want a man on my level, which is the natural hypergamous instinct of a woman. Whatever level she perceives herself to be at, she wants a man who she perceives to be equal to or higher than in value. And she's saying, I'm a businesswoman, I make my own money, I don't have a conventional lifestyle where I have like a 9 to 5 clock in, clock out lifestyle. I have a certain number of hours for sleep and, relaxation and play, and a certain fixed number of hours for work. So I have a schedule that means I need a man who's flexible and can understand. Now, a lot of black women, or women in general in this society, they would hear that and they would immediately understand what she means. I need a man on my level means I need a man who understands and is accommodating of my lifestyle. But it always amazes people, especially men, how the opposite is never true. There's always a hypocrisy or a double standard when it comes to the woman having to put her feelings and her emotion and her need for attention and undivided time to the side in order to be accommodating or to be the support system of the high value man. It's like it detracts from her identity as a strong, independent woman, and she just can't understand why she has to play the submissive role. This is why a lot of women out here, it's almost like they're looking more for a wife than a husband. They want the benefits of the traditional relationship, but they don't want to play the traditional role. They want to have a new type of, convention. They want to have a new type of setup, but they still want to reap the benefits of patriarchal traditional gender roles. And this is why a lot of men become frustrated. It's not that they're intimidated by a successful woman or that they're broke or that they can't handle you. It's just simply it's too confusing. If you want a man who's the leader, he has to have authority to lead. If you want a protector and a provider, you have to also put yourself in a position to be protected and be provided for. To be provided for is a submissive role. It is a secondary role because you are dependent on the person providing for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But once again, because feminism has got women so conflicted in their minds about how much you are maybe giving up your identity in order to allow yourself to be provided for, there's this power struggle in the mind of a lot of women. So when she said, Simone said, basically I want a man on my level, what she said was not wrong, but that standard has to be applied to both men and women. So again, I'm not against the lady saying I was unhappy in my marriage although I had a lot of money. What I'm unhappy with is the fact that there seems to just be this complete lack of balance where you don't have to pick wealth with a bad character or good character with poverty. There are great black men out there who possess both sets of attributes. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.